Welcome to In Great Company. This is the podcast where we explore how thriving businesses build relationships at scale. Hosted by Sindhu Srivastava and Danielle Thieret, we sit down with top executives to uncover the strategies that create stronger connections, engage teams, and lasting success. Let's dive in.
Hello, I'm Sindhu Srivastava.
And I'm Danielle Thieret,
your hosts for our podcast, In Great Company. Together, we engage in conversations with business leaders to explore their strategies for connecting their companies to their stakeholders, customers, partners, employees, and shareholders.
This episode is brought to you by We Crush Events, your ultimate partner in corporate event planning. At We Crush Events, we do just that, crush events. We know that a company's event is a reflection of its brand, and we're here to make sure it's nothing short of perfect. Whether you need help sourcing vendors or a full-scale, all-hands-on-deck approach, our expert team has the skills and connections to bring your vision to life. And the best part? There are no planning or production fees, just seamless and stress-free event execution. Make your next event unforgettable. Contact us at www.wecrushevents.com/contact us.
We have Chad here from Rise 25, who has done thousands of interviews with successful entrepreneurs and CEOs, and we have flipped the script. He will be interviewing us.
Hey, it's great to be with you guys. Thanks so much. I'm looking forward to finding out more about you guys and also about We Crush Events. Cindy, let me start with you. I know that you are originally from Nellore, India. I'm hoping that I'm pronouncing that right. Tell me a little bit about that, your journey from there to how you got to be running We Crush Events as CEO.
Oh, my beautiful little town, Nellore. I mean, it is still home. That's where my heart goes. So yes, I am from a little town in South India called Nellore. I was born to a Hindu father and a Christian mother. I was the firstborn, a girl. And in our very conservative community, if you were a girl without a caste or a religion, the prospects weren't very bright for you. So my parents decided to invest in my education. So they essentially spent every single penny they had to put me into elite boarding schools, and later to train me and give me the coaching that I needed to go to the MIT of India, IIT Madras. So I went to IIT Madras, and then you've made it in life, right? As an Indian, if you went to an IIT, like it's game on. I earned a scholarship to come to the US. I went to Ohio State on full scholarship, later earned an MBA from the Wharton School. I came to Silicon Valley in 2009 just because I was an engineer. And I worked for 3 startups, contributed to, I didn't found them, but all of them went public. So here was a kid who didn't have the money to get on a flight ticket when she first came to the US. And now she's your quintessential Silicon Valley entrepreneur. I'm like, if that's not a journey, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, that is amazing. So, I would think that when you started engineering school, you maybe didn't envision yourself as running an event company. But how does the ability to think like an engineer help you do what you do today?
Can I just say the journey was a lot of meditation and getting in touch with my soul. We kind of have to rewind to why I became an engineer in the first place. I only had 2 options. My parents gave me 2 options because, again, that was the way you were successful in India. I could either become an engineer or a doctor. I was terrible at biology. If I started out with a white sheet of paper and I started drawing organs on it, it would turn black by the end of it. So I didn't want to kill anybody, so I decided I would be an engineer. And but then what the upbringing did was it gave me childhood trauma. Because again, it was all about performing and overachieving. So I was an anxious overachiever as an adult. So I had to do a lot of work with therapy, with meditation to get in touch with my soul. And when you do that, you start hearing messages, I guess, from inner parts of yourself. And the message that I heard was a joyful workplace. And I'm like, what is a joyful workplace? Here was an engineer who's just very quantitative. I didn't understand what this joyful workplace was. And lo and behold, I saw before me, and I was on the entrepreneurship through acquisition journey, I saw a corporate events company that seemed like it was having fun. was like, huh, maybe that's what joy is, right? Like business doesn't have to be boring all the time. You could actually have really fun events to get in front of your customers, develop deep relationships with them. And we're certain, because we do it all the time, we're certain that doing that gives you more revenue.
Very nice. Sounds
Yeah.
fantastic. Hey, Danielle, you are one of the founders of We Crush Events. What kind of inspired that?
Funny enough, I was a corporate gal. I fresh out of college, got my first sales job selling office supplies door to door, commission only job. And that's when I kind of realized the monetary opportunity in the sales world, but also how much I loved building relationships with people. So I was climbing my way up the corporate ladder in sales and went through 3 corporate layoffs. And at the third layoff, I was at an events tech company with my co-founder Jessica at the time. After that layoff, I got the encouragement from a lot of people around me, including my co-founder, and I thought, you know what the hell, let's do it. Let's try taking what we do and make this thing happen. So my co-founder was very event driven and I had the sales expertise. So we teamed up and We Crush Events was born, and it has been quite the journey since then.
Nice, very nice. So I'm sure maybe it was different for you. For a lot of people, getting into sales is scary. Maybe they're afraid of rejection, or they don't know how to pitch a product or something, pitch a service to somebody. How did that kind of initial experience really benefit you moving forward?
Yeah, I remember I had a professor in college that said, we're all here, you're majoring this, you're doing that. Nobody really knows what they want to do in college sometimes. And the professor was like, if you want to make money, you're going to get into sales. And I was like, okay. And so when I got that first door to door selling office supplies, commission only job, which isn't the fanciest, sexiest job. That's where I learned how powerful the impact of a relationship can be. And I also realized the power of the numbers. I knew that if I knocked on enough doors and said hi to enough people and was friendly to enough people, there would ultimately be someone that would respond. And so I've literally taken that same strategy to every company I've been with. And We Crush Events. Yes, it is an events company, but we run it as a sales organization, which is why I believe it has grown at the rate that it has.
Do you remember what number door finally said yes?
Well, on most days, I would hit 50 plus doors. And this is in person, not picking up the phone. I would go quite literally walk in the doors. I remember my very first day when they sent us out and I had no clue what I was doing. It took door number, I want to say it was like 25, 26. And I was in the Florida heat in high heels. And I was like, what am I doing? And then finally, this lovely person, I was like, you got a couple minutes, gave me the time. And I closed my first deal and been hustling ever since.
Yeah, very nice. I would imagine that was quite joyful at the time.
Oh, yes. It was a big celebration. Yeah.
Hey, Sindhu, you mentioned some of your educational background, IIT, Madras, and Ohio State University, and Wharton. How did that kind of shape your approach to leadership?
Oh, yeah. Oh. So IIT was all about, when I got into IIT Madras, the acceptance rate is less than 1%. So I was like, oh, I think I can do anything I can put my mind to. It just was that. It was confidence that, I was worthwhile as a human being, I guess. So that was cool. Ohio State was the first time I moved to a new country, had to set up home, knew nothing, and just learned to survive. And I was a poor graduate student. And trust me, I've gone back to the scenario multiple times. And if I had to live on $1,500 a month, which is below poverty in the US, I can live a fantastic life because I've done it. I know how to do it. And it's like, I have multiple stories later. I'm a multimillionaire now, but I could go back and just do just fine on that shoestring budget. So that was Ohio State. Wharton changed my life because Ohio State was engineering education, IIT was engineering education. Wharton was the first time us engineers, we call courses about leadership and feelings and whatever, the fluff courses. So because I already had an engineering background, I decided at Wharton that I was going to do the fluff courses. And it taught and it just opened my eyes up to leadership, what it means to be a true leader, and also taking a real look at myself, like who I was and what my experiences were. That's where I discovered I had childhood trauma. That's where I discovered that I had a lot of work ahead of me to even like consider myself an average leader, right? At that time, I was already in a director role, very successful on paper, but in the mindset, I wasn't a leader yet. And Wharton was the one that kind of gave me that skill set. And I will give you the joke. So Wharton is a very quant school. So most people who are familiar with business schools look at Harvard as the touchy feelings school, and Wharton as the numbers school. So I'm sitting down with the dean of admissions at Wharton, and I'm, sharing my experience of how the Wharton experience helped me realize my childhood trauma, invest in my growth, and so on. And she literally looks at me and she's like, "You're telling me you came to Wharton to find your feelings? That's Harvard, man." It's like, okay. Apparently, the bar was so low that even Wharton could help me find my feelings.
Would you say it's important for leaders to maybe take stock of some of their baggage that they know or they don't know that they bring into their leadership roles?
Hell yeah. Like, I don't care whether you're a leader at work or whether you're just a parent bringing up children. If you are responsible for a set of people and you haven't done your inner work, and even like to really realize like what your baggage is and how you're showing up, and I can put this into, so there's dimensional reductionality that's very common in data science, which means that you could look at yourself as, oh, I'm an angry person, I'm a frustrated person, I'm a short temper, whatever you like to tell yourself. At the base of all that, the root cause of all that is two things. Are you acting from a place of fear? Anger, by the way, the base emotion is fear. You're angry because you're afraid you're not being treated well. You're angry because you're afraid you'll be taken advantage of, like whatever, right? The base emotion is a fear emotion. However, if you shift it to the love emotion, that's kind of when good things start to happen. And I can give you a really good example, right? As a leader, we'd say, oh, this employee is not performing well, and like, woe be to him, and we have to like manage him out, or put him on a performance improvement plan, and so on. So can you see the emotion there? It's anger, right? Like you're unhappy with this employee, and now you're going to do everything to clean up the house. However, if you came at it with love, like say it was your own kid and that thing, you wouldn't say, I'm going to push my kid out of the house. You would say, what is the growth opportunity for this employee? How can I coach this employee to be the best person they could be? And then you would work with them. And most managers aren't trained to, I mean, they'll say that they want to train employees and they love their employees, but are you really doing that? Or are you just focusing on cleaning house? So that's like both DT and I, we totally believe in love-based leadership, and DT is the queen of that. Like I feel like I'm a baby trying to catch up to her, but like it's just like complete empathy, complete compassion, and that's the great company that she's built here.
Oh, very interesting. Yeah, Danielle,
Yes.
do you want to expand on that? Maybe your approach to leadership?
Yeah, to I guess kind of piggyback what Sindhu was saying. I mean, in fact, we are building an AI platform that is designed to help people understand how important the root of that is and the relationship is. Yes, we crush events. I mean, number one, we do parties. We throw parties, right? It's not that serious. We have fun. But the whole idea is that we really do try to bring people together in a really authentic way, not just for our clients, but we also do that internally. We have an amazing team of event managers, event coordinators, salespeople, and we really prop them up to, not only empower them to make decisions and be solution oriented and create their own path and journey here, but we have a really collaborative team. We work really well together. And I think that really works not only in our internal setting, but when we go to speak to potential customers, I think within 5 minutes of talking to us, they realize that relationships are really the root of who we are, or at least I hope so. Or at least that's the message that I hope clients are getting when we're talking to them.
So
Yeah.
you're a co-founder and the CRO. What does a typical day kind of look like for you?
Well, no 2 days are ever the same, which I think is really fun. But I am very much an in the trenches type of leader, type of person. I like to cold call with my people, get on calls with them. Let's strategize on what's working, what's not. So I'm very much right alongside with them. Number one, I think that sets an example. Number two, I want to go find customers myself. As you know, from my office supply days, I very much love the thrill of getting that new prospect or getting that contract signed. So I'm very much a part of that process. But my main priority, of course, once WeCrush was acquired and Sindhu acquired WeCrush, I wanted to stay a part in this revenue facing role because that's just what I love and that's where I thrive. So my job is to help us find amazing customers, keep those customers extremely happy, and then, of course, keep our team and our culture the best of the best.
And then, Sindhu, you are the CEO. What has been the most rewarding challenge that you've faced since joining the company, and how did you navigate it?
Okay, I have a story. I have a story to share.
Good.
I know this one.
Yes. So I acquired WeCrush Events, and Danielle, Jessica, who's the other co-founder, we connected right away. Like we just knew that we were happy people coming to the table to do a deal that really was coming from our hearts and so on, right? So everything went really well. I was coming into acquiring this company from a place of, oh, I'm an Ivy League MBA with 3 IPOs behind me and this huge honking engineering background, blah, 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 blah. Of course, I'm going to kick ass. I come in going from leading an analytics team to leading a company of event managers is a very different ball game. Like it's different personalities, and it's different businesses as well, like tech, especially SaaS tech, where there's an annual recurring revenue, and things are a lot more predictable. And going from that to the events industry, where it is the variance is very high, I was completely unprepared for that. So that was on the cerebral end. However, on the personal end, do you remember I was talking about acting from fear and acting from love? Human beings, when they're pushed into a corner, they start acting from fear, and I was one of those human beings. I got so afraid. I was like, I've made the biggest mistake of my life. I, left a very, very successful, well-paying tech job to come do this. I could have waited 2 years and just retired and never worked a day in my life. And here I am. So I actually spent 3 months crying on the floor every single day. My kids, who were 6 and 8 at that time, would pick me up off the floor and be like, Mama, we can't have you do this every day. And I want to give you a few lessons actually from that, right? So as an individual, this was tougher than getting into IIT, tougher than all the childhood trauma, getting beaten when I didn't top my class, like all of those experiences. This was 100 times tougher than that. The tough business was not, I would still be multimillionaires even if I lost the entire investment, right? Like that wasn't the issue. The issue was shame. Being the one in the house with all the stripes and the pride that came with it and the ego that came with it, being the one who'd lost a sizable portion of the family fortune, right? I could not take it. It sent me into clinical depression. I had to work really hard, and my kids had to see me crying every single day. In a moment of vulnerability, I called both my kids, who were 6 and 8 at that time. And I said, what would you rather have Mama do? Would you rather have Mama try to follow her dreams and try to listen to the call that came from inside of her and try to be a CEO to create a company, not just for her, but for all the women who are put into boxes across the world? Or would you rather that Mama just, gave you each a few $1 million? Because part of the shame was feeling like I was stealing from my children's future, right? I mean, in the Indian community, the money goes to the kids. Both my girls looked up at me like I was crazy. And they said, Mama, we don't need your money. We'll make our own money. That response literally was life-changing for me, because I went from clinical depression to being able to cerebrally understand that the hardest things we do in our life are actually the greatest gifts in a way. Because just look at, like, my children are now, straight A students, intrinsically motivated. Like, this is not a house of fear at all. In fact, it's a house of deep love. And my kids are benefiting so much for that. However, here was the kicker as well. The experience made me humble enough where I went back to Danielle and Jessica, who were the original founders. And I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm going to run this company to the ground. It was the most humbling thing I've ever done in my life. Now, take this egotistical Ivy League MBA person. I was that standard Ivy League person running this business to the ground, right? And then I had to go back to DT and Jessica And DT saved my ass. Like, I mean, she came back, Danielle DT, she came back to be our CRO and she said, dude, like sales is my thing. Like, trust me. And she taught me how to sell. Okay. And like DT is still number one, but I was a close number two with sales last year. Right.
Nice.
So I'm like, that's what she did. So DT, do you want to add to that story?
Yeah, I'm a big believer. My family, my household, we are big believers in the power of the mind. And I know everybody nowadays talking about manifestations, this, that, and the other. We very much believe in the power of bringing something to existence by just not quitting. Literally, if you would have told me almost 10 years ago that I would have made this multi-million-dollar company, had it acquired, an Inc. 5000, I would have never even believed that in my wildest dreams. But my family, my husband and I, we are constantly putting the thought first. What is the vision? Then if you do not stop, if you do not quit, and you continue to believe in what's going to happen, even if you can't see how you're going to get there, there's many, many times where I have no idea how we're going to get there, but we do. So when Sindhu was down in the dumps and she was ready to throw in the towel and she was like, I can't do this anymore, I said, dude, you have got to change your mindset. It will be amazing when you do it. She did the work, which a lot of people don't do, and it's really hard to do. And we all still have to do it every day. Every single day, we have to get up and decide, am I going to be a positive person today? Am I going to let my mind control me in a negative way? So Sindhu, I saw the biggest change in her, and it happened so quickly. It was around October of last year, from October to early January. I mean, we're talking about 3 months. She completely made a transformation. And what do you know? Her mind changed and the company had the best year it had ever had. After she was in the dumps, WeCrush had its biggest year ever in history.
In a 10-year history, DT, in a 10-year history.
10 years, right? And it was, and at the time when she was calling me, crying, upset, the company was not in the best financial position. And I swear, when she changed her mind and she got her head in a completely different place, and she believed, she had lost the belief in herself, she had lost belief in the company, she had lost belief in everything that she had been told from being a kid. And look what happened when you put your mind to it. It really does work. And now I hope she's a believer. I know she is now, because now her dreams are insane, which I love it. Our goals this year are insane. The things that we want to accomplish are insane, but I love that. And we may not know how we're going to get there, but we will.
But we're going to get there.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to get there.
We'll
so
find
here's actually what I want to say as well, right? I described childhood trauma, doing therapy to get out of childhood trauma. So I had the tools already. Like, I knew that mindset was important, but I had completely no access to the tools that I had learned in therapy when I was clinically depressed. Do you see that? Like, I had the tools, could not access them because I was so afraid and so like unable to see any sense, I guess. And then like DT was the catalyst that kind of like flipped it around. And it's almost like you need somebody in your life who can hold consciousness of what the best possible outcome is. And DT is that person, period, anywhere. Right. And to have somebody with that powerful of just like, I'm going to hold consciousness, it's all going to be okay. Even the most disbelieving, down in the dumps, clinically depressed person can look at that and be like, oh, there's hope. And then the 3 months that it took me to get my head on screwed right was just getting out of that depression. Because once you get out of the depression, all the tools that you learned, all of that wisdom is available to you. So it's not like I suddenly became a great damn CEO. I could always have been a great damn CEO. I just could not see it for a period of time, and I needed help. I needed the humility to be like, I need help. And then once I got the help, I was able to go on the bandwagon again, right? I'm not manifesting this, but again, like the biggest lesson here is you can't control tough situations coming onto you. But what you can control, or at least as you have had enough experiences, it's like a spiral, and the spiral gets, shorter and shorter and shorter. So you flip from being low to being high really quickly. And we had our executive retreat in Sedona this week, and all of us said what were our favorite things. And I, of course, said, oh, biggest spanking year in 2024. We're on the Inc. 5000 list and all these accomplishments, amazing team. And we just love our team. We have the best team. And you know what DT put? DT put my favorite thing was Sindhu waking up. So it wasn't the Inc. 5000, the biggest year of the growth. It was Sindhu waking up. So yeah,
Can you expand on that, Danielle?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean the company. I won't lie. We're clearly very open and honest people. When she called me last year, it wasn't in a terrible position, but it wasn't in a great one. So her transformation was everything, and the reason being is the person who sits at the top is ultimately going to set the tone for how everyone else in the company operates. And if it's coming from a negative tone, well, guess what? You're gonna have a bunch of negative employees. So when the whole mindset shifted from Sindhu, like, we're gonna do this no matter what, doesn't matter what happens, you notice the team, they rallied around it. They got more positive. And we literally, I mean this, the team right now they are so fired up. They're smiling every day. We're growing, we're hiring, and we're going to continue this moving forward of having people with this amazing mindset and practicing it and challenging ourselves and calling ourselves out on it when we're not doing it. In our leadership calls, we do that, keeping ourselves in check. It's something that we have to practice all the time, but it starts at the top. And I knew if she couldn't get there, the company was going to be in trouble. And I was like, I'll be damned if we're going to let that happen, because I'm still an investor in this company. So, Jessica and I were like, let's figure this out. And I decided to come back. And it was really because I just saw the potential in her. She's the reason, we made this deal. We believed in her. We knew she was the right person. We knew her background. We loved her spirit. There were so many reasons why this all made sense. So I had to come in and fix that. And it was all her. It wasn't me. She gives me way too much credit. She just heard what I said and went and applied it and did the work. And now, here we are talking about it on a podcast. Who would have thought?
I know. And I'll say this, right? Having that person who can hold the vision for you, who can be that if Didi had come in and said, Sindhu, you suck, man, you can't do any of this, I mean, we wouldn't be here today. That's not what she did. She said, look at how amazing you are. Look at all the skills you have. Look at what you can do. Look at what you did in life. Like, why the fuck are you here today? So I'm like, literally, when I say kick my ass, she kicked my ass. So yeah.
Well, I know
a verbal beating.
I know optimism and resilience are two qualities you need in sales, especially after you've been told no 25 times in the hot Florida sun. Have you always had those qualities, or did you develop those in your experience, maybe doing previous sales?
No, the mindset thing was something that, I had leaders in the past that had kind of spoke on it, and it was over time that it kind of developed, and it was really brought to my attention too when I met my husband almost 12 years ago. He was always listening to Tony Robbins stuff, the Mel Robbins stuff. And I was like, what is this? I don't know. And, I bought into it, and I started listening to it, and I started focusing on gratitude, and I started meditating, and I, just started choosing to wake up in a different way, because happiness, that's a choice that you make in the morning, right? When you get up, what kind of day you're going to have. So that absolutely applies to sales. I tell the team this all the time. If you're going into a meeting with kind of a shitty attitude, well, you're probably going to have a bad sales meeting, right? But if you go into it with a great attitude, you give yourself a little confidence booster before, again, you manifest the outcome that you want. You'll be surprised at what you can accomplish. And we see it all the time with employees, the ones that are negative, the ones that always have something terrible to say, that don't have their mind in the right place. Their customers aren't as happy. They're not happy. And ultimately, they don't end up working out. So it works everywhere, at home, at work, in sales, with customers, with your team. It works.
Hey, Sindhu, what does it mean to you to be kind of a leader in a woman-owned business?
I can't even begin to describe it, Chad. Like, I just cannot. Like, the reason why I left a very, very lucrative Silicon Valley company, I didn't leave it because we're still building an AI platform. I'm still a Silicon Valley tech entrepreneur, right? But the corporate side of it, I left it because here was what was very apparent to me. Obviously, you can see that I'm a loudmouth woman, right? I have a brain, I have opinions, and I'd like to share them, because guess what? If I'm wrong, I learn. If I have something to teach you, you'll learn. There's nothing I believe there's nothing I can gain by just like putting them into a box and locking them, right? So I share. However, in Silicon Valley tech, whenever I would come with grand visions or whatever, people would say, Sindhu, your visions are too big. They're too unrealistic. In Silicon Valley, mind you, which is supposed to be the innovation hub, except that when the vision comes from, somebody who looks like me, it's like, oh, it's too big and too unreal. And you need to learn to lead from the back, and you are not swimming in your lane. And to me, I didn't understand it then. Initially, I thought there was something wrong with me. However, when I started working with my executive coach, I actually understood that there was insecurity, so much insecurity, that to have a woman in my skin and blood kind of come and say, okay, by the way, you're working here, the bar is like 10 steps higher. It can be felt as insulting to some people, and then they react out of insecurity to that, right? So that's what I was facing. So my executive coach essentially coached me to becoming the CEO of a company, because where is the space for loudmouth women with a personality, right?
Mm.
In our company, like if you're a loudmouth woman with a personality, skills and talent and hustle mentality, come to WeCrush, right? I mean, so that was it. Like for me, being a CEO was about creating that space where, even if you're not loudmouth, you'll still thrive here because you're being yourself, right? Like this is a company that where you can be yourself. Come be yourself, bring all your talents. Nobody will gaslight you. Nobody will question your sense of reality. Like nobody will try to like dim your light so that they feel better. Like come and shine brightly, as bright as you can want. Like I will put more sun on you. All right, like that's this company that we're building. And being 100% owner, I am 100% owner with 30% of the company pledged to of the C-suite and the employees. So but then that gives you so much power, because you're not answerable to investors, you're not answerable to anybody, you're answerable to your soul, right? So yeah.
Danielle, you guys have you're a woman-owned company with personality, and you've had relationships with clients like Google and Netflix. What's been the key to kind of securing those types of relationships and maintaining them?
As I mentioned earlier, we run as a sales organization. Yes, we're an events company. That's what we do. We're excellent at it. But in order to have an event, you have to find a customer first, right? You have to get the money to plan that event. So we're very sales driven. We're following metrics. We hire amazing events people and teach them how to sell. So sales is just such a big part of our identity. So first things first, we got to get the fish on the hook. Once we do that, we have a team of incredible event managers. They care so much about what they do. Their work is incredible. So once our clients come to us, they love us. It's our event managers. They're so responsive. They're so caring. They work tirelessly to make sure that the event runs smoothly. They give them all the praise. They give all the client the praise. It's like we're behind the scenes. It's all about them. It's all about their boss being happy with the money that was spent. So I've really got to tip my hat to our event managers. An event looks all glamorous and beautiful, but man, they are a lot of work on the back end. So they work really hard to make it happen. And it's the reason clients come back to us is because of that. And I think clients, they see that we're fun. They see, look at our name, WeCrush. We did that to be funny and silly. We want people to feel that, this is a fun place to be. And when you're at a corporate event too, that needs to be a fun place as well. So I think that's why our clients keep coming back.
Well,
So
I'm
Chad,
sure.
I want to add one more thing to that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like to me, sorry, can I add something there?
Yeah, please do.
Okay. So to me, like also when women are employed, it's economic empowerment, right? I mean, your dollars carry a certain weight and a certain independence for you, and you contribute positively to the GDP and to the world. And that is so important. I can tell you that none of the event managers at WeCrush Events have a compensation plan that's less than six figures, right? It is very important to us that we hire high quality talent, and that sales mentality is what helps us earn it, right? I am the CEO. I could have been like, oh, I'm going to take care of accounting and I'm going to rest, but that's not it. Like DT has me selling. Like I said, she's still number one. I was close number two last year, right? So it's like she got this analyst to sell. Like, can you think of that? So this whole sales is in the DNA of this company.
Well, I'm sure listeners of your podcast will gain all sorts of great insights into event planning and confidence and mindset and all, client relationships, everything. Danielle, what are you most looking forward to with regard to this podcast as a host?
Oh man, so many things. Again, being the relationship sales gal, I am just so excited to meet some new people and learn about the whole point of this and the reason we wanted to do this is we wanted to learn our company's fun, our company is thriving. How are other companies doing it? How are they making these impactful relationships internally and externally with their customers? What steps do they take? What internal work are they doing? How do they get there? So I'm super excited to meet some people at these great corporations, to learn about what they do, learn about their team, and get some tips that hopefully we can use, and everyone else listening can get some great stuff that they could hopefully implement in their personal or professional lives that will, help make a difference.
Yeah, sounds good. Sindhu, what about you?
Can I just say I want to change the world? I mean,
that's such a Sindhu answer.
I just want to change the world.
See, big goals. I told you. Now the goals are astronomical. She changed her mindset.
Sindhu wakes up and then she smells the coffee. So here's my hope, right? With this particular podcast, as an analyst and as a Wharton trained analyst, I know this for sure. Companies are in business because they have to make money. It's called return on invested capital. You have a responsibility to your investors to return profits to them. That's your responsibility. And so many people look at having fun and they're like, oh, like that's spending money, and having parties is spending money. What they miss is, look at all the fun people you met over your life. You must have met them over a mug of beer, at an event, wherever. Like, you went out to meet somebody. You weren't sitting and, pounding away at your keypad when you met people, right? So business relationships, and when you meet people, the business connections are what drives revenue. And I can prove this as an analyst, right? We can set up a geo experiment where you're just focusing on building relationships with the East Coast customers and watch how the East Coast revenue takes off compared to the West Coast, right? So as an analyst, I believe people are not measuring it the right way. They're not measuring connection scores, which is all of our AI platform. It will measure connection scores. And they're also not setting up experiments to learn how much opportunity cost, how much revenue they're leaving on the table, because they are not prioritizing building deep, authentic relationships first. So to me, it's the business case. And I want to talk to executives who see that. And I want to talk to executives who've implemented it, who've tested it out, who can say, this is the amount of revenue I made because I build relationships at scale, and these are my methods. So that's what we're here to learn. So we want this podcast to kind of be, we're going to shout it from the hilltops that business relationships are not a nice to have, they're a business imperative.
Okay, very nice. Well, I can tell, having talked to both of you, that this podcast will be great, and I will certainly look forward to checking out future episodes. And I appreciate the chance to talk to you both today. Thanks so much for having me.
Awesome. Thank you, Chad.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thanks,
Thanks, CD. Bye.
So long, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in to In Great Company. Subscribe, leave a review, and share with someone who values strong business relationships. Until next time, stay connected and keep thriving.